In my journey, what I've learned was the number one trait, are you growth oriented as a leader? What do I mean by that? Not only growth in sales and margin, but are you committed to growing people? Are you committed to growing cash? Are you committed to growing the valuation of whatever companies you're leading and managing? Growth as a mindset is very important for a high impact leader.
Hey guys, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on what part of the world you're visiting us. I'm Daniel Marcos, the host of the Learning Up podcast, where we talk how companies that learn and continuously learn, they really get to be able to scale to much better place. We always said the only way you're going to be able to grow your company is if you and your team grow first. We are the bottlenecks. And today we're going to talk with a great friend, Herb Cogliano. He's an amazing business coach in this. He has been coaching me and my team on implementing scaling up. As I've always said, I cannot coach myself, so I have to hire other coaches to help coach me. And Herb has done an amazing work helping me and coaching me and my team at Growth Institute. Hey, Herb, how are you?
Daniel, I'm doing great. It is a pleasure to be here on the Learning Up podcast. And again, it's a pleasure to work with your team at the Growth Institute, not only sharing your knowledge of developing leaders with others, but really practicing yourself all the great concepts and techniques that it takes to do that amazing work. So excited to be here.
So let me do a quick bio so people get to know you a little bit more, and then we'll start with the questions. So Herb is an international executive business coach. He's an experienced scaling up CEO and entrepreneur coach. He's also certified, like me, on the scaling up methodology, and he's a keynote speaker, has spoken in events all over the world. He has been implementing scaling up as a practitioner first. He implemented scaling up, scaled his company, had an exit. We'll talk a little bit about your exit. And then he transitioned to be a coach and helping other great entrepreneurs be able to scale their companies. And by the way, Herb, in your case, you had a learning company. So you tell us a little bit about your previous company, how much you grew your company before you sold it.
Yeah, Daniel, when we got into scaling up, we had a education business and a staffing business. And the education business was younger, only been around maybe 10 years. The staffing company had been around, 50 years. But the education company was having a challenge growing. And we had good people. We were working hard, but couldn't grow revenue and definitely couldn't grow profit. Somebody gave me a copy of Vern's book, Scaling Up, and the light turned on for us. We finally had a system, a methodology to get everybody on the same page. We took a team of 25 people in a business that was only doing over 2 million in revenue and 238,000 in profit per year. Yeah. And we were working real hard. In 30 months, using the one-page plan, the Rockefeller habits, that business scaled to 150 employees, to 12 million in revenue, and 4 million in operating profit.
That's crazy growth.
And we were not working any harder. We were not any smarter, but we now had the right methodology that we can be disciplined and focused together to bring that vision to life. And I've never looked back. Ever since we found that playbook in scaling up, I wouldn't begin another company today without using scaling up methodologies as part of our vision and growth plan.
That's awesome. And let's talk a little bit about you and the mindset you need to have, how you grew yourself, your tools, your mindset, your way of seeing things, from going from 2 million to 12. Like, you could not just go million to 12 with the same mindset, the same tools. What had to change in you? So then you will talk about your team and what you changed with your team.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, and I see a lot of other business owners have this too, I did not prioritize the development of a high impact senior leadership team. I was worried about cash. I was worried about closing the next big account. I was worried about putting out client fires, employee drama, and I just never seemed to have enough time to focus on the main thing, which was really developing the high impact team. And once I got focused on that, then I could spend more time working on the company, strategy, growth, versus being stuck working in it and feeling like I was just treading water and not going anywhere.
So what was the main learnings you had to do yourself to go from 2 to 12? What happened?
I think for me, number one, it was building out the leadership team, understanding that I could not be in charge of sales and marketing and HR and IT and be good really at any one of them while doing all of them at the same time. The second thing was being confident enough to delegate to other company leaders, being truly able to let go and allow them to be independent and grow with their own sense of accountability and deliver results. The second most important part of that transformation for me was getting clear on who our real core customer was, because we were trying to sell all products to all people, anywhere, anytime. And that is not a winning strategy. And it definitely was not a profitable strategy, as you can imagine, for the company.
Yeah. All right. So you had this learning, you had this awakening about growing your team and really focusing on client, product, services, and the rest. And then you have to take that to your team. What kind of learnings did your team have to do to 6x the company?
Yeah, the one thing I love about Vern's book in Scaling Up, it's kind of like an open system type of book. There are over 40 different business thought leaders that are referenced in Vern's book. What that meant for me is once we learned about the overall methodology of scaling up, we started to do deep dive learning on the areas that were impacting the company at that time. I'll give you an example. One of the things referenced in Scaling Up is top grading. Do you know how to hire A players, coach them, develop them, and get them to be leaders on their own? Well, we weren't that great at that, to be honest. So we did a deep dive in the learning, and I know the Growth Institute supports top grading and education on teaching managers how to do the right job scorecards, how to do the right interview process, how to do the right onboarding for people, and then develop and coach them for career path and progression. And that was just one insight. And there was 39 others that we drilled in on over that journey together.
That's awesome. So we say at the Growth Institute, we say that to build a self-managing company, and that's what we all business owners want, a company that will
Yes.
require less of our time, attention, and drama. We believe we have to have three things. First one is you need to have a growth system, scaling up, right? You need to have a system to prioritize, do the strategy, and then align everyone's execution around it. Then you need systems and processes. You need like a platform for the company. And usually we build all the systems and processes, and when we put them together, that's what creates the how-to in our company. And third, you need enough capable leaders to be able to execute that company. What are the, let's say, 3 or 5 main tools you believe a capable leader needs to learn to be able to execute a company that is scaling? What kind of books, methodologies you recommend to a
Yeah.
leadership team to be able to run and execute that company?
So, Daniel, I just finished a white paper, a study on the 5 traits of high impact CEOs, but I really think it's the 5 traits of high impact leaders.
Okay.
And in my journey, what I've learned was the number one trait: are you growth oriented as a leader? What do I mean by that? Not only growth in sales and margin, but are you committed to growing people? Are you committed to growing cash? Are you committed to growing the valuation of whatever companies you're leading and managing? Growth as a mindset is very important for a high impact leader.
Yep.
Number 2, are you a coachable learner? Are you self-aware and open-minded enough to receive constructive feedback? And are you proactive about your development and the development of the people you lead? And are you willing to put your money where your mouth is and invest? Not look at it as a cost, but an investment in those wonderful people and yourself. The third thing, are you a strategic thinker? Can you see beyond not only where your company is, but where is your company and industry growing? And can you identify a segment where you can stand out and be distinctive? Because not everybody can do that. Fourth, and I think this is one that's overlooked, are you an accountable executor? Do you have a culture of accountability where you hold yourself and your people, whether they're family or friends, colleagues, to a standard of results and accountability? Do you have the patience to coach up? And do you have the courage to coach out non-A players? And a lot of people do not, unfortunately. The final one, are you an effective communicator? Do people know where the company's going? What is expected of them? Are they updated consistently on company progress, company outcomes, company priorities? And are you transparent and people know, good or bad, where we all stand? And when I've seen those 5 traits in people, I've seen great things happen every time.
That's very good. All right. So let me go back to the fifth one on strategy. So you first, as always said, if you want to have everyone on the same page, you first have to write the page, right? You have to write your 1-page strategic plan and really have everyone line. What's the 3 main things that you make sure every company has in the strategy so they could really have that clarity of where they want to go, that
Sure.
prioritization, and then they could start scaling? What are those, let's say, 3 to 5 things that you make sure they have?
First thing is, do you know your company's core customer? We have a lot of customers, I find, but do you know the core one? The one that is most profitable, the one that you enjoy working with, you and your team, the one that pays you on time, and the one that gladly refers you to all their family and friends.
Let me do a
And when
pause
you
there.
identify,
Yeah, sorry, finish that. But
no, go ahead.
when I talked that with entrepreneurs, said, no, but I want to sell to everyone. And I was like, yeah, if someone comes and gives you money, you're going to accept the money, but you're just going to
Of course.
focus in this ones. Like, how do you get that discipline in the entrepreneur so they could really focus in the one client, the perfect client for them?
I think it begins with the data. If you went into your accounting system or CRM and you looked at your business in the last 12 months and you ranked your clients by sales and gross profit dollars, and you start to see the big difference between your top tier customers and everybody else, it is a marketable difference on where you spend your time, money, and energy as a company. What I told my partners, because when I said this, Daniel, they gave me that same answer. Oh, well, we don't want to turn anybody away. And I said, marketing and sales has a limited bandwidth in every company. So we're not going to turn anybody away, but what we are going to do is take limited marketing and sales resources and focus it exclusively on the ideal customer first.
Perfect.
And that's where we started to gain momentum and the flywheel started to go. Core customers were maybe 10% of my original business, but 24 months later, they were 40%.
Perfect.
And boy, what a difference that made on the bottom line. And our people were happier because those clients appreciated us more than anybody.
Right. So that's
So
slide number one. That's getting your customer right. That's priority number one. What's the other four or three or four?
number two is our sandbox. What are we selling them and where and how do we do it? So our education business, Daniel, had over 15 different programs, offerings that our salespeople could sell. And you know, salespeople want to sell 1,000 products. They just like having more ammunition to sell more things. But I did some homework and I looked at the data. And for the core customer, you know what we found? They primarily were only buying 3 of the top 15 programs.
The other 12, just rounding error.
And out of the 3, 1 was dramatically more than the other 2. When I looked further, it was the most profitable program out of all 15. I had the highest rate of graduation. I had the highest scores for customer survey feedback, and I had the highest job placement rate with the highest wage for every one of the graduates from that one program. Where do you think I shifted all my marketing money and all my sales team focus?
One thing, that program. That's it.
To the one thing.
You still sold a couple of other more, but it's just all the marketing, all the focus, all the attention was to that one. And then if something falls around, goes to 2 or 3, but not to 15. That's crazy amount of SKUs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's number 2.
The second part of scale, though, this was important. At that time, I was only selling in 3 of the 50 states. So to get to my 3-year goal, I took the one program, the team, and we now offered that in 20 states.
Oh, wow. But you went first to a niche market, 3 states. When you dominated, then you went to 20. But you first dominated and got the proof of market, pricing, all that with the first 3.
Yes, but I was laser focused because now I was only selling 1 to 3 programs in 20 states, but I knew they were really effective.
And by the way, that's something that I really like, that if you see on the one-page plan, the Sandbox and brand promises are on the column 3. That is 3 to 5 years. And I tell the client, said, hey, it's in column 3 because you have to put a focus of a market or a sandbox 3 to 5 years, and you have to dominate it next 3 to 5 years. And then you open it and go to a bigger one, and then you dominate. So every 3 to 5 years, you have to refocus your niche or your sandbox to be able to go to them and then dominate it. All right. So that was number 2. What's number 3?
Third thing is, have you identified for that core customer sandbox the right brand promises? And I will give you an example. A great brand promise not only identifies what the core customer values, which is important, but it also tells me how you're distinctive from all your competition in delivering that value. A lot of companies get what their core customer value right. They are not good at identifying what makes them distinctive doing it. And I'll give you a quick example. In education, we did adult education. These learners were not accomplished academically. A lot of them barely finished high school and didn't go on to college. They had families. They were working jobs that were more entry level, but they wanted a pathway to a higher living wage, and they needed good skills in order to get that pathway.
Nice.
So our brand promise was, number 1, flexible schedule. They had families, they had children, they were working. We had open enrollment, daily start times, and flexible class hours. The second brand promise was affordability. They could not spend $100,000 on a college education or debt, So we did programs that on average were $6,000 or even less. So they could afford it. And the third thing, they were not really supported well as children growing up academically. So our third brand promise was caring, education delivered by caring, empathetic staff. And that was the money winner, the three of those brand promises delivered
For your
together.
client in your sandbox.
Yes.
Very cool. All right. So getting the right client, getting the right sandbox. The third one was really getting the brand promises and make sure what you're delivering, it's very clear to that client and that sandbox. What else? What goes next?
Yeah. Well, Daniel, it kind of goes back to the original thing. This was not done alone. The development of this great high impact leadership team were the people together that helped figure this out over time.
And that's really important
And that was
so
really
they have buy-in. You just don't impose it to them.
yes.
They help build it so they have buy-in on executing it.
Yeah, the number one asset in anybody's company is what I call the collective intelligence of all the wonderful brains you have working there. And we are not tapping 1/10 of the potential of our collective intelligence, and specifically with that senior leadership team as well.
That's what I love about in Multiplier's book. I don't know if you read it, Liz Wiseman. She said you could double
Yes.
the productivity of your team if you change your leadership from a minimizer to a multiplier. What a concept. You don't need to invest $1 more. You don't need to do any new investment, any expenditure, anything. You just change your leadership style and your leadership alignment and all that, and you could double the capability of your team and the production of your team. That's crazy good. And we disregard that. We said, no, the team is wrong. I have to pay more. I need to have more money for more tools or more marketing. No, improve your leadership. And if you give them better leadership, the team could give 2 times, 3 times more development or production.
Yeah. Well, when I first read Vern's book, Daniel, what I was really taken by was this whole result of 2 times cash flow, 3 times industry profitability, 10x my valuation. And I'm like, this is a little too good to be true. Sounds great, but
We've seen it.
I have seen our company, I have seen client after client who has used the methodology anywhere from 1 to 3 years, consistently disciplined focus, get those results and more.
That's awesome.
That's what we're looking for.
That's awesome. All right. What else? Do you do anything else on strategy? Or what is important people have on their strategy? Just to close this and then go to the next.
So like 2024, yeah. A lot of my clients are getting ready
So
for
let's
the
talk
new
about
year.
strategy 2024. What are you doing? How are you preparing them for next year?
Well, first thing, what are your targets? Where are you trying to get to? So 2024 is taking a look at our BHAG. How far are we to that big, hairy, audacious 10-year goal? Where are we at in the 3 to 5 year kind of the milestone targets? And what does 2024 have to do to set us up for the 3 to 5 year targets and keep us on the way to the BHAG? We come up with those targets, financial, operational, and then we ask ourselves, what is the org chart that we're going to need, the budget to bandwidth to achieve the 24 targets?
Perfect.
And we're looking at new hires, we're looking at promotions, we're looking at career development plans within the team so that the org chart will fit the budget that we need to achieve. We're looking at labor efficiency ratio with the budget dollars to the org chart bandwidth. Do we have the right return on our labor dollar investment? HR is coming up with development plans with the hiring managers. And that's a really important link, targets to the org chart. The third thing that we do is a leadership vision alignment survey. All the people on our senior team, as you look out 2 to 3 years from now, who are the core customers we still want to serve? What are the products or services they still want, or where do we see them going? And ultimately, what do we want the employees to say about us? Why will they stay with us? Why will they want to grow a career here? And how are we going to become that employer of choice and stay competitive and in front of our competition? The last thing I do is what I call a SWOT analysis. Our middle management looks at the market and does strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Our senior leadership is looking at strengths, weaknesses, and trends. Our employees are giving us a start, stop, keep simple survey, and we ask our clients the same thing. And looking at the data, it helps us create a really strong, comprehensive 2024 plan.
That's awesome. So just to close this interview, what are the top 3 or 5 books that a CEO that wants to scale their company needs to read? What are the top 3 or methodologies or books they have to read?
So I've read a lot of books. I think the question I would ask myself, what is the 1 or 2 books I need to master? Because I just came back from a trip over the weekend, Daniel, and I was reading Scaling Up for like the 30th time. And I sent Vern a note because
I'm rereading the new edition. I just came out last year. I haven't read it.
Yeah.
So I was discussing it with Vern yesterday.
But I saw something that I thought could be updated or corrected. And so when I think of mastery is really knowing something like the back of your hand, knowing it so well that people would be willing to pay you for the knowledge, like a master craftsman, all these things that you work really hard to. But my point is, I looked at this book and I said to myself, if I wanted to be truly successful scaling a company, I won't read the book. My leadership team and us will master the book together. And when I look at this book, and then I look at the 30, 40 thought leaders, it will tell you the next book because your situation will be different than mine. And it will tell you where to go next with what book and what author.
Awesome. All right. So you will start with Scaling Up as the base, and then going through the book, you're going to choose what's the next one based on that. All right. So Herb, thank you very much. I really appreciate the time. I love to learn from you. You're a very disciplined executive, a leader, entrepreneur, and most importantly, you're bringing that leadership, that discipline, that mindset to a lot of CEOs around the world and helping them scale. So thank you for that, and thank you for all the help you've done. This was just an example. Herb was today in my daily huddle, yesterday, and he came up with something brilliant that we had a conversation around that we're already implementing. So Herb, thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're welcome, Daniel. Have a wonderful week and happy holidays to everyone that's going to be celebrating Thanksgiving and other year-end stuff. And I wish everybody continued scaling up success.
Thank you, Herb. Bye, guys. Continue learning up. The only way to scale your company is to learn up. Bye.
Thank you.